April 17th, Friday, and you are tuned in to Game Over with Vashti and Sharona. I am Vashti Hurt, and alongside me I have my co-host Sharona, and it is Freaky Friday, Sharona. It's kind of
Freaky Friday.
It's Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
I'm actually on the road. I've been talking to the kids all morning at a career fair. I don't know how they got me talking to the kids, Sharona.
Listen, my girl Vashti stays on her grind. So much respect for her and what she does.
Yeah, so I basically I talked to the kids at AC Flora High School in Columbia, South Carolina, and I just told them what I did, and I got a couple questions, a couple people who were interested, but, I'm not used to being around high school students, so it wasn't and it's amazing because as I travel to, go to colleges, when my mom speaks, you can tell the maturity level as you get older and the level of interest. And some of the kids were looking around to see if other people were going to ask. And some of the kids afterwards came up to me and said, I wanted to ask, but I didn't want to say anything. And it's amazing to see the whole high school dynamic.
I did that a couple of years ago, and it is so much fun. You're right. Shout out to Vashti for doing that. And it is fun to talk to the younger generation and find out what they're interested in and what moves and motivates them.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I'm on the road, so if you hear any extra stuff, Sharona and I are working women on the grind. But speaking of working women, my girl Sharona has a huge announcement.
I know. I'm so excited. You guys, I am very, very honored and pleased to announce that I have accepted a position to cover the National Hockey League in our hometown Nashville Predators for the Hockey Writers. So I'm so grateful and honored by that opportunity. I'm very excited, and I can't wait. What a great time. The Preds, Game 2 tonight in Nashville against the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm excited by the opportunity, and I'm excited about covering hockey. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so great.
Woo! Congratulations. So are you going to be at the game tonight?
I am supposed to be at the game tonight. I am slammed with work. Hopefully I can that happen. But if not, I'll be covering it regardless. There's a lot to be said for covering it from the comfort of your living room. You have access to TV, and you can do you can replay things, and it's so. But I'm going to be at a lot more of the games and be covering a lot more. Hopefully I'll get to even go out on the road and cover some of those games. So I'm so excited.
Yes, that is big. Great news. Congratulations, Sharona, on that. I pay attention to hockey when Sharona, we have our great hockey guests, but I'm still learning the sport through you guys. So kudos to Sharona on getting a gig covering the Predators. We have a good show ahead. Of course, we're gonna do Game On or Game Over. We don't go a show without that, so we're gonna do that. And then hopefully we have some tweets we're gonna go with. Sometimes we don't get to the tweets, so I'm gonna start working that into the outline. Yeah. Because we have a lot of great followers on Twitter, and I always love to hear their perspective about their things. So we're gonna hopefully get some tweets in. Then we're gonna talk. It is NBA playoffs time. And then we also have a lot of kids now, college players who are declaring for the NBA draft. So we're going to talk to Nick Simmons from the NBA Online blog. He's been a guest on our show before. We're going to get his predictions. He wrote an article that's on CarolinaBlitz.com talking about giving his NBA regular season awards. So we're going to talk to him about who he thinks MVP is. That's a hot topic right now. And then after Nick, we're going to be joined by Jon Burton. He is also a friend to the show, and we're going to be talking some Tennessee Titans with him. What else, Sharona?
We're going to talk some Tennessee Titans. We're going to talk about our Memphis Grizzlies, and we're going to talk some
Right.
Manny, listen to me. Happy Friday. I'm just like flustered because of my big news. We're going to talk some Mayweather Pac.
Oh, that should be interesting. And then Sharona, our resident legal expert. I know. So I gotta ask her. So sometimes Sharona doesn't like to put on that legal hat. Well, she's gonna put it on today, guys.
I left that behind.
She's gonna put on that legal hat today. Because we're gonna talk from Aaron Hernandez. You know, he was convicted of murder. So, I have my own opinions, but our legal expert Sharona is gonna be giving. We're gonna talk a little bit about that, and then so that's it. We're gonna go ahead and get started with Game On or Game Over. ESPN reporter Britt McHenry was suspended for a week after a tape of her berating a tow truck company employee went public. Sharona, do we have a copy? Do we have that so we can hear what she said?
We do. A little word of warning. We did not beep out anything. This is unfiltered.
Good.
Yes.
I'm in the news, sweetheart. I will fucking sue this place.
Okay, that's fine, and I'll play your video, so careful. I'll play the video.
That's why I have a degree in that. I wouldn't work in some place like this. It makes sense to call even being here.
Well, let's get you out of here quickly.
Yep, that's all you care about is just taking people's money.
Yeah.
With no education. No skill set. Just want to clarify that. Do you feel good about your job? So I could be a college dropout and do the same thing? Whack yourself a brain and you don't?
Looks like that.
Maybe if I was missing some teeth, they would hire me, huh?
Yeah, maybe if you had to touch your roots up a little bit.
Oh, like yours? Because they look so stunning. Because I'm on television and you're in a fucking trailer, honey. Lose some weight, baby girl.
All right. Game on or game over that McHenry should have been suspended for her tow truck rant.
All right. I promise, allow me to digress a little bit and wax maybe a little bit poetic here. I said when I went into this business that I was going to keep it real and that I was going to not hold back, not shy away from the truth. I feel like too often we get that in sports, in not just sports, but in the media in general. I also come, as you guys know, you've listened to me for a long time. I also come from a perspective that I don't like to. First of all, I don't like to see women eat their own. I don't like to see women eat each other. There are far too many forces against us. There are far too many things right now eating away at our rights, eating away at we made a lot of gains in the last 50 years, and a lot of those gains are under attack, and I don't think that it does us any good when we do eat our own. Having said that, criticism is a part of the job, and it is a part of what we should do, as long as it's constructive and handled in the right fashion. What Britt McHenry did was wrong. Listen, the Mean Girls look, the I'm too pretty to be treated in any way other than the queen I am. That whole shield is lame. It needs to go away. And what Britt McHenry did was wrong. How she acted was wrong. I'm not shocked. I am not shocked at all by this. I had her pegged early on as a beautiful girl who always got her way because she's beautiful, always got her opportunities because she's beautiful, and she showed who she was in this clip. It does a disservice to female journalists everywhere for her to act this way, for her to treat another woman this way. It was I spent about 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes being outraged, and then the rest of yesterday being just sad, because it really was a black mark on who women are in general and how we should behave toward, not just toward one another, but toward everyone. I have no doubt whatsoever she's treated other people this shabbily, and I hope that she learned a lesson from it. Now, having said that, ESPN, give me a break giving her that week's suspension. You have all over your programming men who act horribly all the time. I do not think what Britt McHenry did was right, but I do think that you're acting a little bit hypocritically in suspending her for a week when you allow your other talent to go out here and act horribly. So if you're going to do this, I want to see you act the same way towards your male talent.
You know, I was kind of on the fence. First of all, when I was playing and listening to the audio, I'm like, wow. Like, if you've been told it's not a pleasant experience, okay, to walk somewhere and go to try to retrieve your car and it's not there, you get heated. And I've been around situations. I remember my best friend one time got told and she was upset about it, but she didn't go to the lengths of doing what Britt McHenry did. I felt that she has this whole, like you said, Sharona, this, obviously she has a sense of entitlement, that, you know, that she should not be held accountable or she can do no wrong, and how dare you told me. And for her to just degrade this woman, talk about her not having any teeth, question her education level, you know, put her down for her weight.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Vashti, but didn't you find it funny that Britt McHenry actually thinks she got hired for her education?
Well, that shady Sharona shows up again. That is true. Like, Britt McHenry
come on now.
She's a pretty young lady. I bet
she got hired because she's beautiful.
Yeah. If she looked like the bottom of my shoe, do you think she'd be on ESPN giving the news no matter how intelligent she may or may not be? No. So let's get over that, too. I think that her getting suspended is a good lesson. However, I don't know. I don't know if ESPN should have done it. I can't, you know, I guess I kind of, if I had to pick a side, I'm going to say game over to them suspending her. I don't know how it's a black eye on her reputation. It doesn't make her look good, but does that have an effect on how she does her job? Are they suspending people across the board in the same manner? You know, you have, as we all know in journalism, women are quicker to get punished and held to higher standards than the men. And I think that if the same situation, if you had a male reporter that put down another man tow truck employee, would they have suspended him? Probably not. And you know, in this case, Britt needs back in my day, you'd say Britt needs her ASS. She really does. She just needs to somebody needs to. Sometimes you have to put people in their place, and she needs to be put in her place because she obviously thinks that she is just, people need to worship the ground that she walks on. With that being said, I thought that we were going to disagree on this, Sharona. I don't know whether ESPN should have suspended her for that.
I don't know either. I really do have an issue with that because I don't think they would have suspended a male under the same circumstances, and that is wrong.
And I will say, and
I'm going to say this too. Speaking of education, Britt, the tow truck lady had the lady brains enough to know that she was on camera.
Mhm. And told her too. Looked at the camera. And you know what they say about the mic. The mic is all. If the mic is hot, then she said, well, I'll just show it to everyone. And then she got even more outrageous, and the tow truck lady just stood there and she remained cool. She actually came out winning in this thing, and so I'd ask my mom, you guys know my mom is a former journalist. She said that she thinks that she thought that the suspension was justified because it could certain contracts have a moral clause, and her actions were so deplorable, and the way she talked to that tow truck lady was so disrespectful and degrading that it could bring into question her professionalism. So that's another look at it. But I don't know.
Listen, I would far rather be ugly on the outside and pretty on the inside than vice versa.
I don't think anybody agrees with what she did, and you better believe this isn't the first time she's gone off and blanked on somebody like that, and it's not going to be the last. She gave an apology on Twitter, which is usually, I'm sorry I got caught doing this, but she's definitely a mean girl. I could tell that. I mean, she looks like a mean girl, and now
she does.
It's proven.
All right, and we should mention this isn't isolated. Since this came out, there's been a lot of tales about her being awful to other women via Twitter and what have you, including one of our friends and a friend of this show, Liz's Locker Room.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What happened?
I do not know. I saw that being mentioned. There's actually an article out there. I'll have to find it and tweet it out. There's an article out there that where someone interviewed a female attorney who she came after on Twitter too.
Well, Britt or whatever, you have been completely exposed, and so at this point, do you think that she will be able to keep her job? I guess, I mean, the men don't care, and they're not looking at her for her insight into sports, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, they're not looking. I mean, she's has her position because she's blonde and pretty and petite, and that's I suppose it remains to be seen whether ESPN thinks that if she's ugly on the inside, if that's going to impact her job. I don't know. I don't. As for me, I don't want her to be fired. I think that it would be very much a learning lesson for her to have to, perhaps maybe serve some punishment and get out here in the trenches and talk to ugly women, women who don't meet her standards, and learn what it's really like to have to toil in the trenches and really have to make a living based on your education.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, Sharona, but for you to say that she needs to get out and talk to ugly women, that was a little funny to me. All right, guys. Adrian Peterson will be reinstated by the NFL today, albeit without his endorsements. They're gone, reputation tarnished. Game on or game over that Peterson will have a bounce-back season this year.
I know everybody thinks that he's going to. I say game over. I don't see it happening. Although I do think that if anybody can do it, it's probably Adrian Peterson. He was out of football for a year. The age, he won't come back in football shape. He's not happy with Minnesota. Doesn't want to play in Minnesota. Did you happen to see? I forgot. I meant to do this morning when I woke up. Did you catch the Dallas Cowboys website with their tampering article on Adrian Peterson last night?
No.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean it was so crazy. They wrote listen. It's funny to me watching these teams try to go into the media business because they're pretty bad at it. But the Dallas Cowboys website published an article talking about how great he would. I mean, it was just. There's a very good argument to be made for tampering, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
I didn't catch that. As far as Adrian Peterson, I don't know. I think that it's not. He's not either. He's going to have an incredibly good season, or he's going to stink it up. There's not going to be any middle ground with how he plays next year. Like this is like he could be Tiger Woods, even though he's older. You got to factor in age. But then, he had the knee injury. So he hasn't had the toil on his body. He didn't play last season. So he might still have, I think he has something left in the tank. But there's something to say about these life experiences and your image being tarnished that could hurt your confidence. And I think that, and I look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, he can say he has all these injuries or whatever. Tiger Woods' feelings have been hurt since that woman took a golf club to his window. He has not been the same since. His whole image has been tarnished. People don't look at him the same. And when you have built your career based on having an image that doesn't necessarily reflect your lifestyle and you've been exposed, then it's hard to kind of bounce back from that. And I think that that's what happened with Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson had this image, to the this public image that he was this great Christian guy with all these great values. And I don't know him personally, but you wouldn't attach that type of persona with a guy with like 5 or 6 children with 5 or 6 different women. And then now, whether you agree that him spanking his kid was right or wrong, there is a negative stigma attached to that, and it's just hard to bounce back from that. I think it hurts your confidence, and when you've built your entire career based on something that isn't necessarily who you are and you've been exposed, it hurts. And so, like you said, I agree, Sharona, if anyone can have a bounce back season based on talent level and the fact that he hasn't really been like he had last year off, basically, it would be Adrian Peterson. But I think his confidence has probably taken a hit based on everything that has gone on. All right, after an injury-riddled season, the Oklahoma City Thunder fell just short of the NBA postseason. When asked if he plans on watching the playoffs, Kevin Durant said, quote unquote, "Hell no. Game on or game over that KD was lying."
Wait. KD was not lying. So game over to that notion. No, I love the new KD. I love the new KD. But listen, KD, I love you, my dude. You need to quit deleting those tweets and backing up, though. Come on now. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest, baby. No, he wasn't lying. I have no problem believing that he's not going. No, I don't think he's lying. I don't. I'm gonna say
Game on. KD is lying out of all of the gaps in his teeth, or if he has any. Listen, KD is a gym rat, which means basketball is his life, and that's always been him. Some people, when they get to the off season, they don't want to have to deal with basketball. He will play regardless. He will always be in the gym. When you are that closely tied to the game, and you have even if you're not in the playoffs, you mean to tell me KD isn't going to watch one game or one series?
I bet he watches film, but I bet he doesn't sit down and actually watch the games.
I think he will.
I bet he'll watch some film, but I don't think he'll be all like, "Oh, the NBA playoffs are on. I'm going to sit here and watch this."
His boys are going to be watching the playoffs. So you think while everybody else is watching the playoffs, he's going to go in his room?
Europe or something.
I don't know. I think he's lying. Like I said, he's lying through those teeth, and he is going to watch. At least one game. Come on.
KD's going to take advantage of his off season. He ain't going to be watching, and I don't know what his homies are going to be doing, but I have a pretty good idea. KD's not going to be hanging with his homies as much as maybe we think. He's going to be hanging with his lady.
Oh, he has a new lady? An official lady?
I think so, doesn't he?
Oh,
lady or lady?
I'm sure he has multiple. You know how it goes. But I don't know. It was really unfortunate what happened with the Thunder because I really liked that squad, but to have to go through all of those
sad
injuries.
is it that Westbrook is not going to get? We don't get to see any more Westbrook. That's so sad.
Especially the performance that he's put on to try to keep his team in it. It's just, it sometimes happens that way where you have injuries and you try your hardest to try to get to where you have to go, but you can't. It's like the Bulls aren't going far without Jordan, and the Thunder, you have to have two. Bulls aren't going far without Jordan and Pippen, and the Thunder aren't going far without KD and Westbrook. You have to have both of them. All right, on Thursday, Bleacher Report's Jason Cole said that the Chargers are willing to trade Rivers to Tennessee for the number 2 overall pick in the upcoming draft, which would likely enable them to select Marcus Mariota. There's a quote. Sources indicate that the San Diego Chargers will ultimately make a deal with the Tennessee Titans for the number 2 overall pick. Game on or game over that this would be a good trade for Tennessee?
Listen, there are a lot of levels to this and to these quote unquote reports and what have you. I haven't had a chance to actually take a look at any of the latest. So the last Bleacher Report I saw indicated that it was going to take more. It was going to take multiple picks to for the Chargers to send Phillip Rivers to the Tennessee Titans for the number 2 overall selection. I know people think that this is great. I do not think that this is a great trade. I don't think it's a great trade for either side, really. Mm-hmm. Phillip Rivers does not want to go to L.A. He doesn't want to be the face of the Los Angeles Chargers. And there is a legitimate possibility that the San Diego Chargers will end up in Los Angeles. He does not want that. He's not happy about that. The San Diego Chargers do not have an option behind Phillip Rivers. That is absolutely the fact here. And Phillip Rivers, has played his entire career for the San Diego Chargers. He wants to finish his career as a Charger. They want him to finish his career as a Charger. He's only under contract, as I understand it, one more season. He is 33 years old, so what would happen is, the Titans would get a quarterback who's, whether you like it or not, he's entering the downside of his career. Is he going to be a Peyton Manning and a Tom Brady who can play or a Vinny Testaverde, who can play until the age of 40 or so? Who knows? He has been healthy in his career. However, you put him behind the atrocious Tennessee Titans offensive line, and that could change in a heartbeat. There was no quarterback who played for the Tennessee Titans in 2014 that did not get hurt, that did not eat dirt repeatedly. So projecting what Phillip Rivers did in San Diego to what he would do with the Tennessee Titans is an exercise in futility. They're two different teams, and I fear for his health. I fear for anybody's health having to play behind the offensive line that the Tennessee Titans have right now. Now, obviously, they've gotten rid of Michael Orr. There are going to be some changes there, but they had issues with scheme. It was just a mess. So I do not like this trade. I don't think that this trade is good for either side. Good teams build through the draft. That is an absolute fact, and the Tennessee Titans have, frankly, been better. Not that they've been great at the draft, but they've been better drafting than they have in free agency.
I am going to completely agree with you. I don't like the trade for either one. I think that of course, the Titans need. They need an offensive line, but I think they need a quarterback too. I don't know. There's so much going on with Tennessee, and I don't know if.
By the way, we're
going to
talk to Jon Burton. Yeah, we're going to talk to Jon Burton about this. In about 30 minutes, he's going to be on the show.
I don't know if Phillip Rivers is it, and he's older, and I think that they should keep what they have. I don't like this trade for San Diego, and I definitely don't like it for Tennessee. So we actually agreed on everything today, Sharona, which is new.
With that?
Which is
it's
new
for
the last couple of weeks. It is definitely Freaky Friday. All right, guys. So game over to the trade. We're gonna go to a quick break, and as promised, when we come back, we're going to have Nick Simmons. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs, some college basketball players declaring for the NBA draft. So stay tuned in. You're listening to Game Over with Vashti and Sharona. All right, guys, welcome back. You are tuned in to Game Over with Vashti and Sharona, and we are joined now by Nick Simmons from NBAonlineblog.com. Nick, thanks for coming on the show again.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. It's Freaky Friday, so, but we're not going to say anything freaky during this segment, so don't worry.
Nothing wrong with a little Freaky Friday.
Speak for yourself, Vashti.
Sharona always finds a way to squeeze the freakiness in there. Either it's Shady Sharona or Freaky Sharona, one or the other. We'll probably get one of the two. But we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs. You wrote a great article. It is on CarolinaBlitz.com. It's also on NBAonlineblog.com. You gave out your postseason award. So we're going to ask you a little bit later on about who your pick is for MVP, which has caused a lot of debate in the sports world. But first, let's talk some playoffs. Who is the Western Conference front runner? That Western Conference is a tricky one.
Yeah, it's loaded. It's got to be the Spurs until somebody beats them. I mean, it's got to be the Spurs.
Nick? Sharona's probably over there all giggly.
Yeah, I know she's a big fan. But, I mean...
Hey, listen, my boo Timmy got them there.
Oh, gosh. He's still wearing jorts, Sharona. He's not going to be successful in those jorts.
I'll take those jorts over Russell Westbrook's, whatever, jeggings or whatever they are.
But, I mean, they've been playing great lately. I mean, I think they ended the season on, a 10 or 11 game win streak until that last loss to the Pelicans. Remember at one point, people were saying they wouldn't even make the playoffs. It was a chance that they might not, and then they were in competition for the 2 seed until the last game of the season. So, I mean, until somebody beats them, it's got to be them. I mean, Golden State is, 67 wins, first in defense, first in offense this season. You got Steph Curry, the runner-up to MVP this year. But, I mean, it's the Spurs right now. Until somebody takes them out, I got to roll with them, even though they're going to be on the road. But I think they like the challenge, so I'm going with them.
Nick, the average age on the Spurs is 63 years old. No lie.
It's a young and tender 63.
All right.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, Tim Duncan's going to be...
Listen, they've got an exciting young player in Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, he is.
One exciting young player. I mean, At some point, the Spurs have to look old and rusty. I mean, and I'm waiting on it. I thought it was going to happen last season. And
You've been waiting on it for 3 years. You've been waiting on it for at least 2. Because we've been doing this show for 2 years. You've been waiting on it for 2 years.
I have, Sharona. I have been waiting on it. I've been sleeping on the Spurs, and I'm still sleeping on the Spurs. because they're old and until they get a little bit younger, I can't roll with them. But okay. All right, Nick. Eastern Conference. What do you think? I'm not convinced with the Hawks. But who do you like in the Eastern Conference?
I'm not convinced with the Hawks either. Same thing with the Spurs. I mean, LeBron James until you beat him, and he's got to be the favorite. I mean, even with Kyrie and Kevin Love not having any playoff experience at all. I mean, just the fact that you have the best player in the world on the team, you can't bet against the Cavs in the East. However, I will say, Chicago's coming in. Everybody's healthy now. They get a nice tune-up series against the Bucks before going into Cleveland in the second round. So look out for the Bulls there. But Cleveland, until somebody beats LeBron, I mean, I like the additions they made with J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert on the perimeter. Mm-hmm. And then Mozgov has just been, a savior for those guys down low with them losing Varejao. So I'd have to go with Cleveland in the East as a front runner. I expect them to, definitely make a deep run in the playoffs.
Let me ask you this real quick. Speaking of the Cavaliers, what do you think about Kevin Love and this? It's a real interesting or weird dynamic between him and LeBron James. Do you think that he'll stay in Cleveland or he'll sign an extension, long-term extension with them? Or is it? I think it hinges on how they do in the playoffs. If they win a championship, he'll stay.
They could win the championship and he could be MVP of the finals. Kevin Love is out of there. He will not be. Yes, he is not. There's no way Kevin Love is staying in Cleveland after what's transpired this season. I don't think he likes being in that third row option and then the jabs taken back and forth between him and LeBron. I mean, I know you don't have to be best friends, but I mean, if you look at the way the league has been trending these last couple of years, everybody likes to be buddy and play with friends and all that. So I just don't see him staying there. I think he wants to be in a place where he can be the focal point of the team, and the team is built, around him as a centerpiece. I actually see him going to L.A. next season, and the season after that, I see his old college teammate Russell Westbrook join him.
Come on, you really think that would go down?
I really think is what is in the cards upcoming in the next couple of seasons.
All right, guys, you heard it
here first.
Nick is saying, I've heard that, but I'm not buying that whole Westbrook to L.A. I don't know, but you heard it here. Nick is saying, regardless, Kevin Love could be in NBA Finals MVP and they win a championship and he's still gone. I don't know how anybody could walk away from a team maybe back-to-back, but okay. All right, postseason sleepers. Who are your postseason sleepers?
The Bulls, like I mentioned earlier, they got everybody coming in healthy. D Rose is back, Gasol's back. You got Noah back. I mean, I just expect a lot of things from them. I've had them as a number one seed coming into the season, but with injuries and everything, that kind of took away from that, and nobody expected the Hawks to be what they are. But I think if anybody can take down Cleveland, it's going to be Chicago. So I think they're the only team in the East that has a chance to do that. So I have them, as a sleeper in the East. In the West, I go with the Rockets. I mean, I know they're the 2 seed, but the teams are so close in the West. I mean, that second seed isn't really, it could be the 7th seed just as easy. But I have them, as a sleeper there because it's all gonna rely on James Harden, how well he does with them. But I mean, he can take them to the promised land, or he could take them a first round out like last year. He typically hadn't played too well in the playoffs, so this year I'm expecting big things from him this season.
Hey, Nick, it's Sharona. Thanks again for joining us. So which first-round series are you looking forward to the most? And I'm curious, everybody knows I'm kind of an Anthony Davis fan right now. I love what he's doing. Can he take the Pelicans past the first round?
To answer your first question, I'm gonna go with this series. Man, I cannot wait to watch all 7 of these games. The Raptors and the Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Raptors and the Wizards.
What?
Yes,
Ew.
the best two backcourts in the East in the NBA. You got Bradley Beal and John Wall against Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. I mean, with Paul Pierce coming out and trying to put a spark under those two guys in Washington, I just think this is the best first round matchup we have in the NBA this season in the playoffs. I think it's going 7 games. It could be a toss up, but I cannot wait to see those 4 guys really go at it. I think it's going to come down to the play of the front court, which I give the edge to the Wizards. They have a little more depth there. But I got the Wizards taking it in 7, but I can't wait to see that. And to your second question, Anthony Davis and the Pelicans, I mean, I'm glad he got in, gives him a chance to show, what he can do on a big stage, but I see Golden State pretty much making short work of those guys, and maybe if they don't sweep them, it's going to be 5 games.
Everybody seems to think that Anthony Davis getting them into the playoffs saved the coach's job. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, they were talking about getting rid of him, Monty Williams. He's done a great job since he's been in New Orleans. I mean, they've been hit with a lot of injuries too, a lot of personnel changes. He's had to fit a lot of guys in and out of that lineup. But I mean, this season they stayed true to the game they play. Davis has been, a monster this season, especially the first half of the season. But yeah, I think Monty Williams, he should be good to go there. They bring in another piece or two. I could see them moving up in that 4 or 5 range maybe next season.
Every time I see Anthony Davis, I get so upset because he's supposed to be in Charlotte. He's supposed to be in Charlotte. I remember before the draft, he was at the Hornets, at the Bobcats game where Hornets had all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, the Bobcats won -2 games that season. There's no way that they're not going to get the first pick. And it's like they keep getting shafted. They got the number 2 pick, missed out on Anthony Davis. Then they remember, they're in the first season they missed out on Dwight Howard, ended up getting Emeka Okafor. Well, we know what happened with that. It's just like, it's depressing.
It is, but I mean, I look at it this way. If you look at the history of the Bobcats to the now Hornets and the draft picks that they've had and the chances, the players they could have had that they've made bad picks on, I mean, I don't feel sorry for them for not getting Anthony Davis because they could have had Rudy Gay. They took Adam Morrison. They could have had Damian Lillard. I mean, there's so many. You can go through each draft and say they could have had a certain person, but they went a different direction, and it's just caused that organization just to be what it is. So in that respect, I don't feel bad for them for not having Anthony Davis. They probably wouldn't have picked him anyway.
Come on, don't say that.
The picks that they've made, I mean, they just seem to blow it every year. I just don't understand it.
It's sad.
Nick, there are some inexperienced squads in the playoffs this year. How are they going to hold up? Who's going to be exposed? And who do you think is going to rise to the occasion?
Inexperienced squads, I mean, Boston is the one I'm looking at first because, they have a nice young team and, they're going up against Cleveland. Cleveland's definitely I think that's going to be a short series, but out of all the teams, I think that Boston will, they're going to compete with them. There are going to be some close games. I think all these games are going to be close, but I don't think they, have a chance. The Bucks, the same issue. They have a nice young team. Jason Kidd's done a hell of a job with those guys. but I don't see them winning more than one game, and the same goes for the Pelicans. I mean, it's good these teams get in though to get that experience that carries them over, to the future. But I don't see them doing, making any noise against the teams that they're going against. They just all have bad matchups. I think the Hawks get exposed in the playoffs, and the main reason is because there's really no. In the playoffs, you have to have a go-to guy or some type of superstar on your team. I mean, that's typically the teams that are able to go through and win a championship. No, only times really we saw that not be the case was with 04 Pistons. There really wasn't one guy you could really point to. I mean, they had Chauncey Billups who hit some timely big shots, but I think this is going to come back to haunt the Hawks. You have to have that guy. I don't know if Horford can step up and be that guy, or Jeff Teague, but they have to have a guy that they go to at the end of games that you can definitely rely on to get a basket when they need it, or on the other end to get a stop when they need it. And I just don't see that with them. I mean, they'll get past the Nets, but anything beyond that round, I just don't know if they'll go any further than that. I like to see a lot from, as far as rising to the occasion, I like to see Kyrie Irving. I think he's going to have a monster playoffs. I'm expecting to see big numbers from him this season. I think LeBron James is going to, fall back and let Kyrie do his thing until, those crucial moments when, LeBron has to take over. But I'm expecting to see some big games, some big playoff games out of Kyrie Irving. And the same with James Harden. I mean, it's time for him to step it up and show that, he's the man that he says he is when the lights are on. Because, regular season's one thing, but, even when he back with OKC, back in that finals against Miami, he was the one that could have been the X factor, but, he really didn't show up. And he did the same thing last year in the playoffs. So I'm expecting him to turn around this year and, step it up.
Hey, Nick, I'm here in Tennessee, and we talk a lot about the Grizzlies here. How do you think they stack up against the Trailblazers?
I like that matchup for the Grizzlies. I love the way Grizzlies plays old school basketball. Reminds me a lot of the 90s, throwing it into Zach, throwing it into Gasol. The only thing with the Grizzlies, their negative is, they don't shoot the three well. I think they're last this season in three-pointers made. You have Mike Conley and Vince Carter that can, hit the three. But, I think that may hurt them. They should get past Portland. I think they win that series in about 6 games. But at some point, they got to knock down outside shots. But the way they play defense and, having Gasol and Randolph inside, it's too much for a lot of teams. And I think it's going to be too much for LaMarcus Aldridge to handle down there in this series.
Give us your NBA championship predictions and projections.
I'm still rolling with who I rolled with the last time I talked to you guys, Bulls and Spurs. I think.
I like it.
Is that a shocker?
Yes, it is a shocker, Nick. You are tripping. Tripping.
At this point, I have no reason to change my prediction. The Bulls are coming in healthy. If that second round against the Cavs is going to be tell-all. Whoever wins that series is going to the finals. I think Cleveland, the inexperience, may get to them against Chicago. This may be Tom Thibodeau's last hurrah there, so I think they're going to pull it all out there for him. Those players, they love playing for him, and I think they're going to give him everything they got. The Bulls are just, you have Jimmy Butler, you got Mirotic, you got Gasol, you got Taj Gibson, you got Noah, Derrick Rose. It just goes on and on. As long as they're healthy, I don't see any team. I don't think Cleveland's better than them healthy. The inexperience of Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving may come into play, in crunch time moments in a series with a team like Chicago that's been in so many playoff wars over the last 5 or 6 years. And then the Spurs, like I said, until somebody shows me they can beat them, I mean, it's that you got to stay with them. Golden State's, they're good. They'd be a tough matchup for the Spurs, but I just think that experience that and Greg Popovich, it's just too much. And the way they're playing right now, it's like they're back into it's time. It's like they're like New England. I mean, they just find a way to get there. They just find a way to win, and you just can't bet against them. And Kawhi Leonard is poised to be the man. He's up for a big contract, so I expect the big playoffs out of him.
I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shocked by your picks, but I respect them.
Well, who would you say? Who would you say?
I haven't made. I'm definitely. I have to say Gold. If I had to pick now, Golden State and Cleveland. I just can't see. I can't see. Derrick Rose has to be a confident leader of that team in order for them to get through Cleveland, and I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced. And the Spurs are good, and Popovich is the best coach in the league. But
maybe ever.
Maybe ever in basketball. That's a good point. I haven't thought about that. But maybe ever. But Tim Duncan is and Ginobili and Parker, they are old, and I can't roll with it. So we'll see.
Let me ask you this question.
They were old last year. What did they do?
Yeah, exactly. Did they win the championship last year? Yes or yes?
They won. They shocked me last year. I said the same thing last year. And if they shock me again this year, I'm just going to be quiet, and I'm going to say that Tim Duncan is the man, jorts and hobo outfits and all. I'm sorry.
Y'all heard it here. Y'all heard it. Y'all are all witnesses to that.
Oh, gosh. I hope I don't end up eating those words. All right. Which lottery team, and we know the Hornets are one of them, which lottery team has the brightest future? Of the 14 teams missing out on the postseason, which one has the best chance of turning into a contender sooner?
Well, I'll give you two answers. The first one, I'll give you an obvious answer. I mean, that's Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. You got Kevin Durant coming back. Russell Westbrook, you got Ibaka coming back, and then the addition of Enes Kanter, who should have got the ball a lot more this season, I think, that team, I mean, they could go from, ninth place to first place next season in a blink of an eye. I mean, just because they were already that good. The only reason they weren't in the playoffs is because of injury. So, and then now you're going to add a lottery pick to that team. I mean, it's only going to get better for them now. The season after that, then they might see themselves back in the lottery without, starting to lose some of those stars they have in Kevin Durant and Westbrook. But I think you have to roll with them. I don't like the Scott Brooks fired talk. I think that's just crazy. The guy gets to the playoffs every year. He's been to the finals. I mean, he can't help those guys were injured this year, and the season they had, they still almost got in. So I mean, I think they got to give that guy some slack there. The other team I'm looking at to have a big turnaround, this may also be surprising, and it's going to be the Knicks, because you have Carmelo Anthony taking basically the whole year off to get his knee together. They have $30 million in cap space. They already, basically, from what I've heard, signed Greg Monroe secretly. But, I mean, and then you're going to add a top 2 draft pick. I mean, all those things together, those could, push them into, the top half of the Eastern Conference. Only problems I have with them is, I think they need to get rid of the triangle, but that's another story. And I don't know how good of a coach Derek Fisher is. With the lack of talent that they've had all year, it's kind of hard to judge them, but next year they're going to have a completely different roster, and We're going to really get a chance to see what Phil Jackson can do. And like I said, with the return of Melo, and I think, he's just tired of all the naysayers right now saying, what he isn't, the type of player that he isn't. And I think, once he gets some teammates around him, he's going to really have a chance to go off next year. But we'll have to see what Phil Jackson's going to do. But I think, they have a good opportunity there with the cap space and the draft pick and, free agents that they have a chance to bring in this year.
I think we know the answer to this, Nick, but give us who your league MVP is.
Oh, it's got to be James Harden. And I love Steph Curry.
I love Steph. Mine's Steph Curry.
I love the guy. He's a great player, but, if you look at the roster makeup of what he has to work with versus what James Harden has to work with, it's basically night and day, in my opinion.
I can see that point.
You had Dwight Howard, who's only played 40 games this season, and the Rockets, they have two crazy stats around James Harden. He's scored or assisted on 57% of their offense, which is just unbelievable. And the way he gets to the line is crazy. And they've only had one player score over 30 this season, and that was one time, which was Dwight Howard back in November. Every other game he's carried them. He's put that team on his back to get to the second seed. I know that there were 10 games behind Golden State, but still, you gotta look at what he's been able to do. They only had Josh Smith for part of the year. Like I said, Dwight Howard was out half the year. They lost Patrick Beverley. The casual NBA fan can't name three players on the Rockets outside of Howard and Harden. And then you look at Golden State, Steph Curry, he's had a great year. You can't put that past him. The stuff he's been doing on the court is just amazing. But when you play with Klay Thompson, who's, them two together, make the best backcourt in the NBA. I think that's hands down. I don't think anybody will argue that anymore. And, then you have Draymond Green. You have David Lee, who's been an all-star. You have Andrew Bogut, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala. It just goes on and on. That their team is just, is stacked. So I look at what James Harden's done with the group that he has versus, Steph Curry, and I think you just have to give it to Harden.
Yeah, but by that logic, why not Anthony Davis too? Why not? He's in the conversation, but he's not going to get it.
Yeah, Davis is in the conversation as well. I have him, in the top 5 players as far as MVP voting. With Westbrook and LeBron James. Davis was he had a lot of momentum the first half of the season. I think he got injured for a couple of games in there, and it kind of took away from the momentum he was building. And then for them to, kind of edge in and only get the 8th seed, I think that's kind of going to turn away the voters. So it's really going to come down to Steph and James Harden. And like I said, I have to get an edge to James. There's really no wrong answer, but there kind of is. But I'd have to roll with James Harden. I just think he's done a lot more with a lot less.
They usually give it to the best player on the best team, though.
Yeah, they usually do. That's right, and I don't think that's always the right answer. I hope they don't do a co-MVP. That would be
that'd be terrible.
That would be terrible. So, like I said, I'm looking at James Harden. But, yeah, you're right. They usually do give it to the best player on the best team, which would be, Steph Curry. But, I just think that when you have somebody like Klay Thompson on your team hitting 40 like 6 or 7 times this season, and then all the other complementary pieces that they have, you have to take that into consideration, in my opinion.
It's true. Well, Nick, we're going to have to get you back on the show to talk some NBA lottery next time. We didn't get around to get to that question. But let everybody know where to follow you on Twitter and tell them about your website.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at NBA Online Blog. The website is www.nbaonlineblog.com. Try to post something, as much as I can on there. And there's a new Eastern Conference playoff predictions that's up right now that got put up today. So we'll be looking for the Western Conference later on this afternoon, sometime tonight. So make sure you guys go out there and check it out. There's also, there's a lot of other things out there on the site. And there's also a link out there to the Carolina Blitz site that you guys also should check out. So that's where you can find me. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. And I'll keep you up to date with everything going on in the NBA.
All right. Nick, thanks so much
Nick.
for coming on.
All right, thanks for having me.
You guys follow him. Yeah, and we're gonna when the Spurs lose, we're gonna have to come back on the show and admit that I was right about them being 63.
All right, we'll see about that. We will see about that.
All right, guys, we're gonna go to break. When we come back, we're gonna talk some Tennessee Titans with Jon Burton. We're gonna talk some other things. Some Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather, one of the biggest fight of the year is coming up. So just stay tuned in. You're listening to Game Over with Vashti and Sharona.
Big pimpin', baby. Big pimpin'.
All right. Good morning and welcome back. You're tuned in and listening to Game Over with Vashti and Sharona. Happy Friday. This is Sharona. We're joined now by Jon Burton. Jon is a local newscaster here in the Nashville area. All-around great guy. He is the king of Nashville. We're very happy to have him. So we're going to talk some Titans. We're going to talk some Grizzlies. We're going to talk a little bit about boxing, too. So, Jon, thanks for joining us.
Man, it's great to be on. Happy Friday to you both. Everything good?
Everything's great. Did you happen to catch my announcement, Jon?
I did not. I'm so sorry. What was the announcement?
I am going to be covering the Nashville Predators for the Hockey Writers now.
That is fantastic. Great news.
I'm coming.
And
I'm
just
coming
in time
for your
for the
title,
playoffs.
baby.
It's great.
Exactly. I'm coming for your title, baby.
You know what? You are the queen of all sports in the state of Tennessee, so I don't hold a candle to you.
Oh, you're too kind. Listen, let's talk some Titans. We haven't talked about them in a little while. They're kind of the talk of the league right now. I don't know whether it's positive or negative because I don't know what to make about this Phillip Rivers Chargers trade. We talked about it a little bit in the first segment. I'm not on board with it. What do you think? Is it actually going to go down?
Well, the biggest thing you can take out of it, Sharona, is the fact that it's not going away. Nobody from either side has come out and said, look, this is not true. We are not exploring this. It's off the table. Don't ask us about it anymore. It won't go away. So where there's smoke, there's fire. Having not spoken to anybody from either side, I believe there are talks going on. I believe, if a deal can be worked out, it's a strong possibility it could happen. I actually am on board with it for a number of reasons. Number one, if you bring in Phillip Rivers, you have a guy for 4, maybe 5 years that will be the undisputed face of your Tennessee Titans franchise. He will be the undisputed on-field leader. He would be the undisputed off-field leader. And he's a guy that could mentor Zach Mettenberger for 3 or 4 years, get him ready for life in the NFL as a starting quarterback, so that when Phillip Rivers fades into the sunset in a few years, maybe Zach Mettenberger's ready, and then maybe you have a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type situation. Because let's face it, the Tennessee Titans know getting their quarterback position squared away and straightened out is their number one off-season priority. That's what Rustin Webster told me directly. That's what Ken Whisenhunt told me directly. They've got to get this quarterback situation figured out. If they're not going to go with Winston or Mariota, and if they feel like Mettenberger's the guy, well, why not bring in Phillip Rivers for a few years to mentor him until he's ready?
Well, why do that? They brought in Charlie Whitehurst last year to do that, and Zach Mettenberger's already been named the starter. He's already been named the guy. Listen, I think people are overestimating how Titans fans are going to react to Phillip Rivers, of all people, being named the face of the Tennessee Titans franchise. for years, Titans fans have hated Phillip Rivers. He regularly beat them. They finally got that off their back back in 2013. Finally beating the San Diego Chargers, who have had their number for really a number of years. I don't know that this fan base. Obviously, they want the quarterback situation to be, to be settled. But if Zach Mettenberger's the guy, you've got Charlie Whitehurst. He's already been starting. Why bring in Phillip Rivers to do that?
How many games? Let me ask you this: if Zach Mettenberger goes down, how many games do you think you're winning with Charlie Whitehurst? That's number one. And number two, the fan base. Yeah, I get the fact that they don't like Phillip Rivers and all that, but if he comes in here and wins games, guess what? They're going to like him. And I understand the whole Jay Cutler thing, and I understand where you're getting at, but winning cures everything. Trust me, if he comes in here and wins football games, plus one more thing you got to realize, Sharona, Ken Whisenhunt has to win now. He went 2-14 last year. The rope is pretty small for him. So this might be a situation where he can win now and develop a young quarterback for the future.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I have a problem with Ken Whisenhunt trading away the Titans' number 2 overall draft pick to bring in his anointed quarterback to save his job. I mean, you don't that's a short-term fix. That's not a long-term fix for the Tennessee Titans. The long-term fix for the Tennessee Titans is to stay in that number 2 spot and to build a team through the draft, which is what most successful teams do.
Well, I'll add to that, Sharona. They decide to stay at 2, or if they put it this way, if they decide, okay, we are going with Zach Mettenberger as our quarterback, then you got to trade out of that number 2 pick and get more picks because this team needs more bodies. They need as many quality football players in that locker room and on this roster as possible. So if they decide we are not taking Winston, we are not taking Mariota, we are going with Zach Mettenberger, then why are you staying at 2? Get out of 2, try to stay in the top 10, and get more picks.
Yeah, I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Assuming they stay at 2, who do you think that they take? Is it Leonard Williams, Kevin White? They had Kevin White in. Who is it?
Yeah, they like Kevin White a lot. They love Leonard Williams. I mean, you got to remember, you have Dick LeBeau now running your defense, and he wants stud defensive ends and outside linebackers that can really come off the edge and put the hurting on opposing quarterbacks. So, Dick LeBeau is a Hall of Famer. He's a legendary coach. Whatever this guy wants, Ken Whisenhunt and Rustin Webster's going to try and get him. So I think it would be probably Leonard Williams. My guess, though, if it were me, I really like Dexter Fowler Jr. out of Florida. I really like him. I like that. Okay. I used to cover the Pittsburgh Steelers when LeBeau was running the defense, and you look at guys like Lamar Woodley and James Harrison and Joey Porter and Clark Higgins and Jason Gilden, those classic 3-4 outside linebackers that just come screaming off the edge. Fowler really fits what Dick LeBeau likes to do in terms of that 3-4 blitz scheme. So I would prefer him, but Leonard Williams would be an outstanding pick as well.
Yeah, I like Donnie Fowler too, and I agree with everything you just said there. I think the only thing that I would question is whether, just from a cost benefit analysis, whether it makes sense to use that number 2 spot. If Donnie Fowler's their guy, I would far prefer them to trade back.
Yeah, did I say Dexter Fowler, by the way? I did, didn't I? He's a baseball player. My bad. I just had a senior moment there.
Yeah, I mean, I have them all the time.
You know who I meant, right?
I did know who you meant. And John, I didn't even pick up on that. I mean, you probably said that, but I heard Donnie. Anyway, no, I agree with that, and I like him too. But don't you think the better thing would be for them if Fowler's their guy, to trade back? Because to me, I don't know that. And I hate to say this because I like him as a player. I would prefer, at the number 2 spot, I would prefer a Leonard Williams, a Kevin White, or an Amari Cooper, because those guys are going to play a lot. They're going to be pieces that you legitimately can build around. Whereas Fowler is a guy that you're going to use him, but he's going to rotate in.
you make a good point, Sharona, in the fact that, and let's not forget the fact that they went and got Brian Arakpo in the off season. So that solves a lot of what they want to do defensively right there. They brought back Derek Morgan, so they have some wiggle room there as far as that goes. So if you do bring in a Kevin White or a Leonard Williams or an Amari Cooper, you can expand things a little bit more that way. But I just like the potential of this kid. Again, any one of those picks would be solid. I don't think the fan base or us in the media would have any problems with any one of those guys. I'm just telling you personally, I just like Fowler. I know what Vic LeBeau wants, and I see what this kid can do coming off the edge. I think he'd be a nice pick. But again, they have wiggle room. Arakpo's in. They got Derek Morgan re-signed. So yeah, they could go wide receiver. Obviously, Nate Washington is gone now. Kendall Wright needs some help. They need some. Justin Hunter is still developing. They need a playmaking wide receiver on the outside to open up that offense for Zach Mettenberger or whoever the quarterback is.
Yeah, I agree with that. The jury's still out on Justin Hunter. Kendall Wright is a solid player. Nate Washington is gone. He's going to be donning a Houston Texans uniform. How weird is that going to be?
That's going to be really strange.
Yeah, so strange. You saw him, I guess, originally in a Steelers uniform.
I did, yeah. I was there when he got drafted by the Steelers out of Tiny Tiffin College and really worked his butt off to become a solid player. He was a member of both Steelers Super Bowl teams, 2005, 2008, and did his best to really bring a lot of leadership to the Tennessee Titans. Just watching him grow as a man and as a player over the years has been a lot of fun to watch, and we certainly wish him well in Houston, and I'm looking forward to seeing him when he comes to LP Field or when we make the trip out to Houston.
Yeah, I am too. Let's talk just real quick about some of the front office changes. I felt really bad for Tommy Smith. He was not. I don't want to say he wasn't put in a position to succeed, but he wasn't the guy that they really needed. He was kind of named by default. Now it's Steve Underwood. Do you think that some of these recent changes are going to help improve the team?
I think so in the long run, yeah, because you really need a football guy to be your president. You really need a guy that's going to, live in the city of Nashville and be at the facility, 6 days a week or whatever the schedule is. That's number one. And number two, you need a guy that eats, sleeps, and breathes football, because you can hire people to handle the business side of things and marketing and, are we going to give out a bobblehead this game or whatever. All that stuff, you can hire people for that. But this team needs football people that 24/7 are constantly thinking of ways, how can we get this football team better? How can we win more football games? And Tommy Smith, bless his heart, he just had a lot on his plate, running the late Mr. Adams' business as well and trying to run this football team. And and it became obvious that other family members in the Adams family were not satisfied with the job he was doing. And that's kind of a red flag there when the family is kind of at odds over certain things. But you bring in somebody that will live here in Nashville, that will be at the facility, that will constantly be talking with Russ and Webster, Ken Wisenhunt, everybody in the front office, and everybody getting on the same page as to how we can get this football team into the playoffs, winning more games, competing for division titles, and ultimately Super Bowls. So I think in the long run, it's going to be a really good move.
Yeah, and they needed a local guy. They needed somebody locally here to do that.
Yeah, you can't run a football team from another city. You just can't. You have to be here. You have to constantly be talking with the players, talking with the coaching staff, talking with your general manager. Meeting basically on a daily basis. And as I said before, getting everybody on the same page and one direction. And you can't, Tommy Smith, if he's in an important meeting with Russ and Webster, he can't take a phone call and say, hey, one of our oil wells blew up. What are we going to do, boss? You know what I mean? You can't juggle both. I mean, this is a 24/7 position. 100% of your time has to be devoted to this.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, who's on the bubble, who isn't? I'm very concerned about Craig Stevens' roster spot.
Yeah, you should be. He hasn't been used a whole lot in the last few years, and he'll really have to work his butt off to prove that he belongs on his football team.
Yeah, I think so too. Is Bleedy Ray in any trouble at all with some of the recent additions?
I don't think so. Bleedy Ray, I mean, he kind of took one for the team last year. I mean, I didn't. it's obvious he wasn't ready to be a full-time starting NFL cornerback, but it was trial by fire, and he kept his head up throughout the process and stayed confident. And I think with an off season of working and understanding Dick LeBeau's system, look, under Dick LeBeau's system, there's a lot of pressure on the quarterback, so you don't have to cover too long if the quarterback's on his backside.
Hey, John.
Yeah,
this
no,
is
I completely
Ash.
agree.
I'm sorry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for coming on. We're going to switch gears a little bit now and talk some Memphis Grizzlies. We just talked about a little bit about we talked NBA playoffs right before you, but we're going to talk specifically about the Grizzlies. They finished second in the Southwest Division, starting hot, then they kind of faded a bit after the All-Star break. Do you like the moves they made by replacing Mike Miller with Vince Carter and then acquiring Jeff Green?
You know what? I think Dave Yeager is an outstanding coach. I think he understands his personnel very well. I think he understands what it's going to take to try to get out of the West. So for me to sit here and question any moves that he makes, I mean, Vince Carter is a great story. I mean, a guy is still playing at a pretty high level at an advanced age. I mean, he's only a few years younger than me, for goodness sakes. So bless his heart. But, you got a guy like Mike Miller who's had plenty of playoff experience. He's a very savvy player. He's a very heady player. I think these moves will hopefully do well for the Memphis Grizzlies because I'd really like to see them make a deep run in the West.
Yeah, they're they're solid and good, but, they are for some reason, I don't know. Maybe you might disagree, but I don't know if they get the respect that they deserve in that Western Conference. Do you think that they do? And what do you think about the matchup they have against Portland?
To answer your first question, no, nobody talks about them. It's all about Golden State. It's all about San Antonio. It's all about Houston with what Harden's done this year. Heck, people still talk about the Lakers before they talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, and I think they're okay with that as collectively as a group. I don't think they mind being under the radar because they know they have a solid team. The biggest key for them in this series and going forward in the NBA playoffs is going to be health. I mean, you look at all their key players, virtually all of them are banged up in some way, shape, or form. Now, on the other side of that, the Portland Trail Blazers, they have a lot of key players banged up as well, but I think the key for this series and for the playoffs for the Memphis Grizzlies is going to be Mike Conley Jr. and Tony Allen. Mike Conley's going to have to really run the offense well, get it down low to the big guys, Gasol and Big Zebo, run the offense because we all know in the NBA playoffs it's all about half court. You have to be able to execute in the half court. And Conley, I think, in terms of executing an offense in the half court, is as good as any point guard possibly in the NBA. He doesn't score like Steph Curry. He's not as flashy as, say, a Chris Paul, but he's just a solid guy that understands Dave Yeager's offense and what he wants to do with it. So, and obviously Tony Allen with his defense and his hustle is going to be huge in the playoffs because a lot of times these series comes down to those hustle plays, guys diving on the floor, guarding your man, making it difficult for him to score. Obviously, Portland's got some great players. Lillard's a stud. It's going to be a fun series. I think it'll go 6, but I think the Grizzlies will win.
How do you think the Grizzlies will fare in the Western Conference in general?
Come out of the West and represent the West in the NBA Finals. I would like nothing more to see that. I don't think with teams like the ones I mentioned, San Antonio, Golden State. Now, Golden State's an interesting animal because we're going to see if a team can actually jump shoot their way to an NBA Finals appearance. With the Grizzlies' ability to play defense, especially in the half court, they could present some problems for them. I just don't know if they have that number one go-to guy when it's crunch time in the fourth quarter. I'm talking about the Grizzlies now. I'm not sure they have that guy to win a game for them. Collectively, they're an outstanding team, but I think the playoffs comes down to stars. The stars have to shine. A lot of pressure on LeBron James. Going to be a ton of pressure on Stephen Curry to get it done. I don't know if the Grizzlies have that go-to guy when it's needed at crunch time in the fourth quarter to pull it out, and a lot of times the playoffs comes down to that.
Do you think that the Grizzlies are one star away from being a possible dynasty team? Do you think that this squad has it in them?
You know what? The best way to answer that is what are they going to do with Marc Gasol? He's a free agent at the end of the year. If they re-sign him, create some cap room, and try to lure some stars. The hardest part is going to be luring stars to come to Memphis. because we all know that it's all about branding with the NBA players. They want to be in the big city. They want their brands to shine. It's way different from in the 80s and 90s when I watched the NBA. But that's the world we live in. As far as the dynasty goes, I mean, possibly. I mean, San Antonio's not going to be able to make this run forever. Obviously, Oklahoma City's in a transition mode. They might be getting rid of their coach. Durant might be gone this time next year. So they could be a different-looking team. If they can keep this core together and maybe add one superstar, a guy that can score, that can really, really take pressure off guys like Conley and the big guys down low, quite possibly they could be primed for a run. But they got to get Marc Gasol re-signed first.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about Marc Gasol. Most of the rumors that I've heard have him going to New York. I don't know. I don't. Do you think there is a good?
Well, I'm
chance
from New York and I'm a Knicks fan, so I would love to see that.
Do you think there's a good chance he'll re-sign with Memphis? I personally don't see it.
I think I would say it's 50-50 at best right now. I think the front office is really going to have to convince him that they can team around him that can make a serious run at a championship. And if he doesn't feel that that's going to be the case, I think he's going to test the waters in free agency. And, he would be a nice piece in New York. Looks like they're going to get a top draft pick. Looks like they might get you a little Okafor. They might get Karl Anthony Towns. They're in position to get a good, solid player. They're going to have some cap room. They're going to be able to probably lure some free agents. That might be an attractive situation for Marc Gasol. His brother played in L.A. all those years and, won championships and got a lot of notoriety. Maybe he wants that same thing across the country in New York.
So, hey, Jon. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sharona.
No, I was just going to say, obviously the Grizz need a little bit of help. We're seeing some good things out of Jarnell Stokes, though, in their D-League.
Yeah, and that's encouraging. I'm a big Jarnell Stokes fan. Obviously played at the University of Tennessee and, went through a lot, especially his last year there with the whole coaching situation. And, he's a guy, he's going to give you an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. That's what I love about Jarnell Stokes. He's a hard worker, and, it's a great story, him, having gone to the University of Tennessee and being from the Memphis area and playing for, his hometown team, basically. I'm rooting for him with everything I got. I hope he can get with the Grizzlies and be a contributor. I think he will.
Yeah, he's kind of that blue-collar player that they like to, have on their team, and I'm excited about him, too. I hope that that he continues to develop and that it does turn out. Just real quick, we want to talk some boxing. I saw you tweeting about it not too long ago. Pac versus Mayweather. A lot of people are saying that this is a money-making event, but little else. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I do. Because, to be honest with you, I mean, I plan on watching the fight, going somewhere and watching the fight. Obviously, it's going to be probably the biggest sporting event of the year other than the Super Bowl, the Final Four. But I just wish this fight had happened 5 or 6 years ago when both guys were in their prime. It's going to be, obviously it's going to be a huge moneymaker. Probably no matter what happens, there'll probably be a rematch for even more money. But I think both guys are past their prime, and I think, Mayweather's a smart guy. He doesn't take a fight unless he knows, A, I'm going to make a ton of money, and B, I'm going to win. And I'm actually rooting for Pacquiao to win this fight. I mean, I like Floyd, but I'm a big Pacquiao fan. I'd love to see Pacquiao win, but I just can't see it. Because in order to beat Floyd Mayweather, you got to knock him out. And he won't let you knock him out.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Yeah.
If it goes the distance, it'll be either a majority or a split decision. Mayweather will win, and there'll probably be a rematch. The same thing will happen again, and we'll sit there saying, well, it's great that they fought each other, but how great would it have been if they fought in 2007, 2008?
Yeah, I was listening to the Dan Patrick show yesterday, and they had Pac's trainer on there, and he was talking. It's been a while since Pacquiao has knocked someone out, but I agree completely. The only way he's going to win this fight is to knock Mayweather out. Oh,
100%, because, he's not going to be able to outstyle him or outpoint him. It's just not going to happen. And Floyd is such a defensive fighter. He's an outstanding counterpuncher. You know, for a guy at an advanced age, he still moves very well around the ring. He's not going to let you get inside and get those shots either to the body or to the head that are going to do damage. He just won't let you do it. It'll go the distance, and I think Mayweather will win on a decision. And I think, I hate to say it, because I know a lot of folks are getting ready to shell out a lot of money possibly for the pay-per-view, I think it's going to be a pretty boring fight overall.
Oh, yeah?
You know, John,
It's like $100 a pop or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. And, I'm telling you, go try to, if you're going to do it, get your buddies together, have everybody pitch in. Because if you're selling out $100 for this fight, I think you're going to walk away disappointed. I hate to say it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's I hope it's Tommy Hearns Hagler circa 1985, where they just came in and beat the crap out of each other for 3 rounds. I hope it's that. I don't think it's going to be.
I don't think so too, and I think you bring up a good point. Mayweather does not take an opponent he does not know he can. He knows he can win fights, and I think that 5 years ago he wasn't sure that he could beat Pacquiao, but now he's pretty confident that he will. This fight is totally 5 years too late. I'm gonna watch it because I'm into sports, and it's like you said,
it's what we do. We're gonna watch it because it's what we do.
We're gonna watch, but I'm not even really that hyped for it because who wants to see 2 old men in the ring boxing? I don't know.
Well, Bernard Hopkins is doing pretty good. What is he, 50 now?
Yeah, I actually covered his last fight, and he looked good. And also Roy Jones, I covered his fight a couple months ago, and he's still fighting. I don't know what it is about these boxers not really wanting to hang it up. Apparently, Roy Jones said he wants to fight Bernard Hopkins. Who would really pay? I mean, would you pay to watch those old men fight?
No, I would not. But if it was on for free, I'd watch it.
Hey, John, real quick, Nashville Predators Game 2 tonight in Nashville against the Chicago Blackhawks. The Preds aren't playing very well. Mike Fisher's out. Are they going to be able to win this series or not?
Well, it's going to be tough. And I said going in it was going to be a tough series for them to win based on the fact that from a forward perspective, the Blackhawks are very superior. They have arguably the best collection of forwards in the league. And, Kane's back. He made a couple of plays last night. Taves is a stud. They've got a lot of experience and a lot of good forward lines. And obviously the Predators' offense has been improved this year under Peter Laviolette. I just don't know, especially without Mike Fisher. I don't know if they have the horses up front in those first 3 or 4 lines that can keep up with Chicago. It's not a must-win for the Preds tonight, but they certainly don't want to go to Chicago down 0-2. So it would behoove them to win tonight. Put it this way, if they lose tonight, and it's just pretty obvious. I'm being Captain Obvious here, but if they lose tonight, there's no way they win this series.
Yeah, I think it's as close to being a must-win game as it could possibly be, and I completely agree. They do not want to go to Chicago down 2 games. A lot of talk about Pekka Rinne. Do you think that he's injured? What's up with Pekka?
I don't think it's so much him. I think it's the guys in front of him. I think, the defensemen have not done a very good job of keeping Pekka Rinne clean and keeping traffic out from in front of him. I think when he's got a clean look at shots coming his way, I think he's the best in the world. But, Chicago in that second period the other night did a really good job of creating a lot of traffic in front. Plus, the Predators were their own worst enemies, getting in the box so many times. And, all 3 of those goals, I believe, were on a power play, and the last one on a 5-on-3.
The officiating was awful. The officiating was awful, John.
Well, I'm sure you're talking about the Taylor Beck call where he got dragged down and no call in overtime. Yeah, that was awful.
Oh my God.
That was egregious. But it's the playoffs. You got to live with it. The refs are going to swallow their whistles a lot more. There's not going to be as many penalties called. But getting back to the original point, the guys in front of Pekka Rinne have to do a better job. A, getting guys from in front of them, and B, staying out of the box and creating power play opportunities for Chicago. Because with their forwards, they get on a power play, they're going to execute.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. John, thanks so much. Tell everybody, I introduced you as the King of Nashville. It's true, but obviously you have other titles as well. Tell everybody who you are, where they can find you.
Sure. I'm on News Channel 5, the CBS affiliate here in Nashville, Tennessee. You can catch me on at 6 and 10 p.m. Nightly. It's great. I work with Steve Lehman, and we have in my humble opinion, the best sports department in all of TV here in Nashville. You can get me on Twitter.
You guys do a great job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You can get me on Twitter at Jon Burton 32 or at NC5_Jon Burton. I have 2 Twitter accounts. The at Jon Burton 32 is a lot more active and a lot more user friendly, so I would recommend that one. I also do personal training on the side. Anybody in the Nashville area that's looking to get in shape, I do one-on-one personal training. You can go to my website, justbelievefitness32.com. That's justbelievefitness32.com, and I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you need to get in shape, because I love training people. It's a blast.
Well, Jon is always in shape and always looking good, so I can highly recommend him as a trainer. And his Instagram account is live, too, so be sure to try to find
that.
Thanks
for reminding me. Yeah. Instagram account, same as Twitter, Jon Burton 32. So hit me up on Instagram. I'm always posting pictures. I lead a very active social life here in this great city of Nashville, so if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, hit me up on Instagram, Jon Burton 32.
Thanks again, Jon. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk. We'll read some tweets. We're going to talk a little bit about the Aaron Hernandez trial. We might have some ladies' choice. So stay tuned in. You're listening to Game Over with Vashti and Sharona.
Just observe and acknowledge when the occasion is risen to by champions. You know what I'm saying? Let it speak for itself and handle me accordingly. When you see me, it ain't no secret. You know what's happening. No fake, no flaw, man. Straight like that. It's the king.
All right, I had to play King in honor of Jon. Jon is the king of Nashville, a great, great, great guy, and we thank him for for taking the time out to talk to us this morning. Also to Nick Simmons, shout out to Nick for joining us this morning as well. Great show already this morning, Vashti. How do you want to start with this final segment? We can read some tweets, or we can just dive right into it.
Yeah, let's read. Do we have any tweets?
Yeah, we had a lot of people weighing in on the Britt McHenry situation. Let me scroll back down here and talk a little bit about that. Let's see. Charlie Jones36 on Twitter said, "Game on," regarding the Britt McHenry question. ESPN standard is set. Don't make a fool out of yourself. I'd be interested to hear from Charlie as to whether or not he thinks that they would treat their male talent in the same manner. I wonder about that. Doug Moore, also weighing in on Twitter to the Britt McHenry question, said, "Game on. She should have been suspended even longer. They have a standard to uphold." Mike, shout out to Mike. I always enjoy talking to Mike and having him weigh in. He said, "Game on, but only because she needs to upgrade her slander skills. She should have let that tow truck have it." Listen, nobody likes having
their... I think she did a pretty good job. I think she did a really good job of being...
She hit all levels
of getting
there.
her shade. Yeah. I don't know, man. Mike, what levels of shadiness are you exposed to? Because she hit everything. She called her dumb, talked about her teeth, talked about
said she lived in a trailer.
Education.
Basically called her trailer park trash. I mean she basically called her trailer park trash. Yeah.
Mike, what more do you want?
Preston Penn also weighing in said, "Game over. She should have been straight up fired. I'm honest enough to admit if I treated someone that way, I would deserve it." And Donald King. Donald actually mentioned what I mentioned earlier about her being rude to other women on the Twitter machine. He said, "Game on. That was crass. Also, not the first time she's been very rude to Liz's locker room and others." He tagged it with woman-on-woman crime. I hate to see that. Yeah, I hope that she's learned a lesson from all of this. So, yeah. Yeah. So maybe we'll see. Also had some people weighing in on the Phillip Rivers question. Kevin Kloss actually raised kind of a good point. He said maybe not great, but it's better than dealing for Cutler. Now I would agree with that. I strangely enough would rather see Phillip Rivers in a Titans uniform than Jay Cutler. Mike also weighing in on that question said, game on, this is a good trade if Phillip Rivers is willing to sign an extension with the Titans. And he said Justin Hunter fits Rivers. If he can up his game and be, kind of, what is their exciting young Keenan Allen. Maybe Justin Hunter's got to catch the ball. If Justin Hunter can't catch the football, he ain't no good to us. And so that's just the situation. Nittany Titan, our friend Nittany Titan weighing in. He thinks it's a great deal for the Titans. Jason Riley said, I could be wrong, but Williams is the pick, hopefully. Marcelo, our Italian Titans fan, said, I'd prefer Met as the starter or Mariota. And also Al weighing in said the Titans have a quarterback. They should trade the number 2 for multiple draft picks. And Jason Riley finally said if Rivers was 27, it would be good. And if he was a little bit younger, I suppose. And if they hadn't already drafted, they moved up to draft, and it was a later round selection, granted. But, they moved up last year to select Zach Mettenberger. He fits exactly what Ken Wisenhunt wants. To me, and I've said this all along, this move reeks of a coaching staff and a front office that knows that they're in trouble and they're trying to save their jobs. I don't think that it is, it's a short-term fix. So I guess we'll see. So
I like the dialogue that you and John had regarding this, because I think that you both brought a really good point, saying that maybe he can mentor Mettenberger, and but I tend to agree with you. It seems a bit desperate, and I don't know how well thought out that would be. I mean, I don't know. The Titans they're just really a mess. It's sad. I feel bad for Titans fans, honestly.
Yeah, they're not a good team right now. Even bringing in Phillip Rivers, it would stabilize the position, but they've still got a lot of holes to fill. Ideally, trading out of that spot and picking up more draft picks, and because they didn't get any compensatory selections, they are the cupboard needs to be refilled. It needs to be refilled with younger talent. That's how you build a team. I repeat myself, but it is so true. Do you see why are the Green Bay Packers the cream of the crop? They drafted Aaron Rodgers. He laughed well. They you very rarely see them make big free agency moves. They build through the draft, and that's how you become successful. And that's what I would like to see from the Tennessee Titans. I guess we will see.
Yeah, and that's a good point about. And the draft is it's not an exact science. It's a little bit of skill and a lot of luck oftentimes, but Green Bay has been fortunate, and I think they did it the right way as far as the whole. They knew when to pull the plug on Brett Favre, but they also had Favre mentor and kind of. Well, I think that Rodgers got a chance to look at Brett Favre. I don't know what their mentor quote mentee relationship. There are different reports about that, but at least he wasn't thrust into that role prematurely. Now, Aaron Hernandez, he is headed to jail for the rest of his life. It's a really sad situation.
It's a sad situation. There are no winners
for everyone involved. No winners. We're going to ask Sharona to put on her legal hat. Have you put it on, Sharona? Is it on?
I put it on. It doesn't fit very well, but I put it on.
All right. I personally was kind of, I thought that Aaron Hernandez might have had an shot to get off. I definitely didn't think it would be first-degree murder. Were you shocked by the verdict, or a lot of people were praising the prosecution, but were you shocked by the verdict given all of the information?
I thought the prosecution did a good job. I did not watch every single minute of the trial. I caught some of it. It went on for 10 weeks. This trial started back in January. It got postponed. There were a lot of bad weather in the Boston area over this past winter, so it was not a quick or really a smooth process. It took 10 weeks to try it. The prosecution put on, I believe, 132 or 133 witnesses, somewhere around 130 witnesses.
Wow.
The defense put on 3 witnesses. Aaron Hernandez did not take the stand. That did not surprise me at all. A couple of things here. I thought some of the things that were key. One of the key things that happened, and I talked about this a little bit Wednesday night on one of my shows. I thought that it was very interesting that the defense team admitted during closing statements that Aaron Hernandez was there. Admitting that he was there when the murder took place, I thought was a rather, and I don't know why that happened. I've been meaning to see if there's any speculation or whatever out there about that. The other thing, the other pieces of evidence that I thought were pretty significant. If Aaron Hernandez was going to get off, it was, everybody pretty much agreed it was for one or two reasons. The first being, what kind of motive was there, and the motive that was basically presented was that Aaron Hernandez was a bad guy with a bad temper, and you dared not cross him, which, I think has a lot of truth to it. Let's not forget that Aaron Hernandez, it's not over for Aaron Hernandez. He's got a double murder trial that he's going to sit trial for possibly later on in the year, and one of the witnesses that testified was a friend of his, a former friend of his, who he shot in the face, and he's facing a civil trial over that incident, and also another civil trial for the double murder that he's going to stand trial for civilly. So there's he's still got a lot of, and there are reports that I don't know. I think that it was a knife involved in an incident that he was involved in Florida. Not a good guy, from all accounts, from all appearances, not a good guy. But the motive thing, that was going to be big. And the other thing is that the murder weapon was never recovered. And so the two pieces of evidence that I thought were pretty key were the fiancée, Shiana Jenkins, testifying that she disposed of a box that reeked of marijuana. The defense there was some weird PCP stuff that came in. I was kind of surprised that even came in, because it didn't have any basis in fact or law, in my opinion. And then there was video surveillance of Aaron Hernandez holding what appeared to be a .45 Glock handgun, which is what the murder weapon was, within minutes of Odin Lloyd being killed. And so a lot of people wanted to make a big deal about, it was based on circumstantial evidence. Listen, cases get tried and decided, and people get convicted and they pay money every day on cases that are largely composed of circumstantial evidence. And so there's going to be an appeal. I was reading. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought that the fact that there were, a lot of the evidence was circumstantial, in addition to the fact that you couldn't find the murder weapon. I thought that, okay, maybe you had a murder weapon and circumstantial evidence, but both of those, I was shocked that they got the conviction with both of those being the case.
Yeah, there was a lot of circumstantial evidence, though. A piece or two here, a piece or two there. That's not what we had here. There was an ungodly amount of circumstantial evidence. The text messages, I thought that and not all of them came in, which is even more. I thought that from what I saw, and I said this early on when I caught a little bit of the trial, I thought that the judge did a very good job to make sure that the ultimate decision, whatever the jury decided that they were going to do, that it was going to be fairly appeal-proof, and not that either side couldn't appeal, but that the verdict would hold up, because I thought that she was very defense-oriented, and I'm not knocking her by any means. I mean, if you're going to lean, you probably should lean that way, because we want to make sure that people are convicted based on the not preponderance of the evidence, which is what you get in civil cases, but beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the standard in a criminal case. And so I thought that she was very careful to make sure that he got every fair shake that he could possibly get.
And listen, I was not on that trial. I did not hear or see all of the evidence that the jurors saw. Mm-hmm. But, beyond a reasonable doubt, you're certain, okay? Beyond a reasonable doubt. And to me, with all of that circumstantial evidence, there's reasonable doubt there. I can't help
Is there? With the defense admitting that he's there, and with all the other evidence,
the defense was dumb for
holding
doing
the
that.
gun.
They were dumb for doing that. They were dumb for doing that. Why would you place your client at the scene? I mean, you did that yourself. So I don't know how much money he was paying these lawyers, but he should get some type of refund. But it's tough to me. It's tough for me to find someone guilty of that without more concrete evidence and a murder weapon. It's just,
I think that it goes back to the difference, like you were saying, the difference between first and second degree murder. And most people, I was reading an article that indicated some legal experts in that area, in the Massachusetts area, were saying that on appeal that it could possibly get knocked down to second degree murder or whatever. If, in fact, there's any relief here, in my opinion, which doesn't mean much, but in my opinion, it would be that. I think that Aaron Hernandez is going to that the conviction is, and there were multiple weapons charges too, that I actually haven't really looked at all that closely. I don't know whether they're going to be, how subject to attack they're going to be. The murder thing is the big thing, and that the jury found. The jury found first-degree murder by reason, basically, extreme measures and cruelty. And there were 6 or 7 shots that were fired into Odin Lloyd's body, including 2 shots to the chest as he lay on the ground, writhing in pain. And, that's pretty cruel.
Yeah, I guess. I've never been on a jury. I've never been asked. I would find it extremely hard to judge somebody like that, and maybe that's why I always have questions, because in my mind, unless I see if there's any shred of doubt, then it would be hard for me to put somebody behind bars for the rest of their life without me knowing for certain that they did the crime that they're being accused of. But I appreciate you, Sharona, kind of helping me out with that. I guess, it was just, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. What did you think about Hernandez's reaction I'm waiting. He just seemed a little stoic to me. Maybe he was just in shock. I don't know. Somebody said I posted it on Instagram. Somebody said he was a sociopath. What did you think about his reaction or the lack thereof?
He's been in jail for a pretty good while now. He was arrested about a week after Odin Lloyd's body was found in a field in the Boston area, and I remember all of that. What a media circus that was when all that was going on. He's been in jail since then. I believe he was in solitary for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm not. That's my recollection. If my recollection is accurate, and if he was in solitary confinement does weird stuff to people. I mean, imagine that, and jail in general. You're away from your family and friends. If you're not in solitary, obviously you get a little bit more human contact. But if you're in solitary confinement, it's just you. You're just alone with yourself, and it does things to people. His reaction didn't surprise me. I can't even begin to imagine what kind of mental state that he was in, being in jail for that period of time, and knowing that this is just the first trial that he's going to sit through. There's still a double murder trial that that he's going to face, and it's. I would have broken down. I mean, I would have been all 6'9". I would have gone 6'9". They would have been taking me to the hospital.
Yeah.
I would have been on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, life in prison. I would have. Have you seen the video where the dude was like, "Bruh," and he passed out? That would have been me. I would have just been like, "Lord help me, Jesus," because
I know, right?
That would have been too much for me.
I mean, I would have been speaking in tongues, and I mean, it would have been. I would have been. Yeah. But let's face it, neither you nor me would. I feel relatively safe in saying we would never take a gun and shoot somebody point blank in the I mean,
don't like guns. I don't like guns, and I'm not gonna get in any political type stuff. I would, but I'm not. But I don't like guns. I don't even like the sight of guns. I don't like touching them. I would prefer not to have them in my household. So
I own a gun. I own a 38, and I'm going to own a 44 at some point in my life. I don't own one yet. But that is for protection, and I just can't wrap my mind around who Aaron Hernandez is. The overwhelming weight of evidence is that he's not like us. I don't want to call him a psychopath or a sociopath. I don't know him personally. I wouldn't dream of throwing those labels out without some sort of basis. But I will say this, that who Aaron Hernandez is probably, I think that the weight of the evidence indicates that he's a long way away from who you and I are.
Yeah, I agree. I'm shocked that you got a pistol, Sharona.
I do. I got a 38. I think we've got Mike on the phone. Hang on just a second. Mike, is that you?
Yeah, this is me.
Hey,
hey,
Mike.
what's up?
Thanks for calling in.
Hey, I just wanted to give you guys a call. I have to say that Hernandez verdict did shock me because I thought all of the evidence was circumstantial. But when that verdict was read and his reaction, I said, "Oh well, I guess he deserves it."
You think his reaction shows that he did it?
I thought his reaction was so cold. And I thought his demeanor was cold throughout the whole process. And he didn't help himself. I mean, if anything, his girlfriend tried to help him the most. Or fiance.
Yeah.
Sharona, you might be able to help us. Do do attorneys encourage their clients to kind of not show any emotion?
Yes. I don't have any. I feel relatively certain that his attorneys instructed him not to show any emotion, not, juries definitely do. It's always amazing to me, back when I was practicing, it's amazing to me what juries pick up on and what they don't pick up on. I'll have to tell some war stories someday. But juries watch, and I always told my clients, they didn't always, listen, if you get a client that'll listen to you, you're doing all right. Don't pull any shenanigans. Don't go on a crying spree. Because juries don't like those things.
Wow. I guess from my personal standpoint, I want to see him. I guess it would at least bother him to hear what happened to Odin Lloyd, who was supposedly his friend. But that's the verdict, and that's what it is. But I still think so much of the evidence was just so circumstantial.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Hey, Mike. Yeah. Hey, Mike. Thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Go Hawks.
Oh gosh. Listen, guys. Mike was on Twitter upset that everybody listen. Nobody outside of Atlanta probably is convinced that the Atlanta Hawks will do anything in the playoffs. They don't have, as Jon Burton said, and I completely agree, when it comes down to the playoffs and it comes down to April and May, you got to have a superstar, and Atlanta lacks that superstar. Who are you going to at the end of the game? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm hibernating on the Atlanta Hawks. They might make it out of the first round, but I wouldn't even be shocked if they didn't do that. I don't know. All right, guys, I actually have to wrap up because I have been in this car and I have to get out and just go into some place. But we had a great show. Special shout out to Nick Simmons. Make sure you check him out, NBAonlineblog.com, on Twitter at NBAonlineblog, and Jon Burton. Sharona, what's Jon's Twitter? Jon Burton 32, right?
Yeah, Jon Burton 32. And he also has an official Twitter. I'll tweet that out as soon as we get off the air.
All right, guys, make sure you follow the show on Twitter at Game Over Sports. We upload old shows there. You can go check us out there. And
our website is up to date. Sharona's been working hard. Our website's up to date.
Kudos to Sharona, because I don't even mess with that stuff. Sharona will send me a message talking about, I just got this up and running, and I'm looking at it with the wide eyes like, I don't even know what that is, but thanks. So
yeah, you can check us out on the website. You can check us out on Spreaker, and we're also on AudioMac. Shout out to Vashti for always staying on her grind. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. We'll be back next Friday with another great show. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, and go Spurs, go. Oh, also, go Preds.
It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but damn the game if it don't mean nothing. What is game? Who got game? Where's the game in life? Behind the game, I got game, she got game, we got game, they got game, he got game. It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but the game if it ain't saying nothing.